Welcome to From the Pages and this summer issue of Wrestling 86 lands at a moment when professional wrestling feels louder, bigger, and more exposed than it ever has before. This is the mid 1980s at full speed, a time when wrestling has broken out of regional boundaries and into national consciousness, and this magazine knows it. From the opening pages, there's an unmistakable tension running through the issue, the sense that success itself has become a test of endurance, not just talent. The opening editorial sets the tone by framing wrestling as a business now living under constant observation. Television exposure is everywhere. Media attention is relentless. The fallout from WrestleMania Two still lingers, and the question hovering over the entire issue is simple but heavy. How long can wrestlers survive when the spotlight never turns off? This isn't framed as nostalgia or celebration, it's framed as a warning. That warning becomes personal immediately with Crossfire. Baby Doll, a feature built on confrontation rather than comfort. Baby Doll is brought into the Crossfire chair by Bill Apter and Eddie Elner, and the interview is structured to strip away image and get to motive. She speaks about her time with Tully Blanchard in language that emphasizes control, calculation, and hierarchy. But Blanchard isn't portrayed as chaotic. He's portrayed as methodical, someone who understood power and expected obedience. Baby Doll describes what it meant to operate inside that world, where loyalty was currency and mistakes were punished. When the focus shifts to Dusty Rhodes, the contrast becomes the emotional backbone of the piece. Rhodes is framed as the opposite force, and not just a wrestler, but a philosophy. Where Blanchard represented domination, Rhodes represents connection, empathy, and belief. Baby Doll's commentary makes it clear that managers are not just accessories in wrestling, they are amplifiers. They magnify strengths, weaknesses, and consequences. The Crossfire format works because it doesn't let her hide. It forces the reader to see wrestling relationships as power structures, not storylines. From there, the magazine pivots sharply into technical debate with head-to-head Jim Garvin versus Ronnie Garvin. This feature slows everything down and asks the reader to think like a wrestler. Same parents, same upbringing, but two completely different ring identities. The article emphasizes that lineage does not equal destiny. Four experts analyze the hypothetical matchup from every angle: striking versus submission, patience versus aggression, psychology versus raw toughness. Each expert makes a pick, but more importantly, each reveals what they value in wrestling itself. The match becomes a proxy for a larger argument about what real wrestling should look like. That argument deepens with interview 86, Bruno Sammartino, a feature that carries the weight of history. Bruno doesn't speak nostalgically, and he speaks deliberately. He discusses WWF wrestling past and present with the authority of someone who defined the standard. Championships, in Bruno's view, are obligations, not decorations. He talks about credibility, about responsibility to the audience, and about the danger of allowing spectacle to replace substance. There's frustration in his words, but also resolve. Bruno is not lamenting change. He's challenging it to justify itself. The issue then plunges headfirst into manipulation and momentum with Jim Cornette blows, taps for the Rock and Roll Express, the music died at midnight. This piece is a case study in how matches are won before the bell ever rings. Cornette's influence is dissected piece by piece. The timing of interference, the use of foreign objects, the calculated exploitation of referee vulnerability. The Midnight Express are framed as masters of controlled chaos, while the Rock and Roll Express are portrayed as emotionally rattled, caught between disbelief and desperation. The article argues that once confidence is shaken, talent alone isn't enough. That psychological damage gives way to real-world tragedy in The Blinding of Chris Adams, one of the heaviest features in the issue. The article treats the incident with gravity, laying out the facts without sensationalism. Adams's return to England is contextualized alongside the death of Gino Hernandez, creating a broader narrative about loss and fragility in wrestling. This isn't about angles or recovery arcs. It's about permanence. The piece forces the reader to confront the reality that wrestling injuries don't always fade when the crowd goes home. That sense of vulnerability flows directly into Hulk Hogan. Is he strong enough to survive the fallout of WrestleMania 2? Hogan is examined not as an unbeatable icon, but as a man carrying unprecedented expectations. The article discusses media saturation, fan obsession, and the pressure of being wrestling's public face. Hogan's strength is acknowledged, but the question remains whether constant exposure dulls even the sharpest edge. This is Hogan framed as human, powerful but stretched thin. The spotlight then shifts forward with the sensational Lex Luger, wrestling's hottest property. Luger is presented as raw potential incarnate. His Florida success is emphasized, as is his intimidating physical presence, but the article is careful not to crown him prematurely. It frames Luger as standing at a crossroads, immense power paired with unanswered questions about discipline, restraint, and direction. The implication is clear. Power alone doesn't guarantee longevity. That idea of rebuilding continues with the private side. Rick Martel. Wrestling 86 follows Martel back to Quebec after losing the AWA World Title to Stan Hansen, and the tone becomes reflective. Away from arenas, Martel is shown dealing with loss quietly. The article emphasizes personal routines, recovery, and introspection. This isn't about reclaiming glory immediately. It's about understanding what remains when the championship is gone. The magazine then hands the debate directly to the audience with "You decide." Should championships change hands on a disqualification? The article walks through the implications step by step. How would strategies change? Would champions become more aggressive? Would contenders take greater risks? By refusing to answer its own question, the feature reinforces the idea that wrestling's rules shape its morality. Throughout the issue, the departments act as connective tissue. Feedback amplifies reader voices. Newsline tracks movement across territories. In this corner and managers forum frame opinion and strategy. Scouting report evaluates emerging talent. Scoreboard grounds everything in results. Best bet, golden moment, info center ratings, and this just and reinforce the nonstop churn of the wrestling world. And running through every page are the ads, not as background noise, but as cultural evidence. Mail order back issues promise ownership of wrestling history. Pro Wrestling Illustrated merchandise turns fandom into identity through shirts, caps, Skyflyer discs, bumper stickers, buttons, and bundled fan packages. Coliseum video ads sell the power of replay, featuring Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, King Kong Bundy, and Kamala on cassette. Classified ads fill the margins with ambition, side hustles, and strange promises, reflecting the era's fan base as much as the wrestlers themselves. By the final pages, Wrestling 86 has made its point without ever stating it outright. This is a sport growing faster than its safety nets, louder than its introspection, and more popular than ever. But popularity comes with a cost. Pressure cracks people. Fame blinds judgment. Success demands payment. If this issue stirred something, say what it was. If you lived through it, tell us what you remember. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives pulled straight from the pages. See you next time. Farewell from the Empire State.